This is the end, doo-doo-doo, of season 8, my friends. Woo! Yes, this is Lisa Russick with the podcast We're All Psychic, and this is the end of season 8. I am doing an audio-only podcast for the end of season 8. You know, of all the numbers in numerology, I really didn't think 8 would be the roughest podcast season. Really? I didn't. I thought 1 would be hard. Typically, 1s are hard for me. And it says so in my numerology and my astrology. The implications are the number of 1, the self, the identity, the Chiron in Aries with Jupiter in Aries, and the sun all in the 10th house. The sun's in Taurus, though. You know, there's a lot of issues there. It kind of hurts your career, right? They're like, oh, you're going to have this great career. You got sunshine, moon. You know, I was like, but look at my little wounded healer, man. My little wounded healer is hurting, man. My little wounded healer in Aries sucked. It sucks, man. It sucks so bad. It tries. So everyone thinks their Chiron is like the worst thing you've ever suffered. You know, I'm sure mine is. No doubt. Anyway, season 8. In numerology, 8 is the number of the command, leadership, taking control of a situation and your life and all this good stuff. Season 8, guys, listeners, it's been a wild ride at season 8. I say that every season, I think. So I wanted to go, instead of just talking about the number 8 first, and what I just kind of know and think about the number 8, I wanted to go with Joanna Sacred Scribe's blog, the Angel Numbers section of that blog. And I'm going to go to 8 and read that because I want something really gentle and sweet. Something gentle and sweet to me with a nice season 8. Because we're closing season 8, guys. And guess what? We do have a season 9 that starts tomorrow. Might even start today, later. I don't know. It is Sunday. Sunday. And I love Sundays. I always love a Sunday. And it is April the 6th. And it is the year 2025. In the year 2025, a lot of crazy things happened. I think that guy who wrote that song, or a woman, whoever wrote that song, in the year 2025, in the year 25. It goes on if you haven't heard it before, and it's in the year 35. I mean, everything goes crazy. It talks about humanity evolving if you haven't heard that song. Go listen to it if you haven't. In the year 25, I think like it's just been crazy. It's just been insane, guys, so far, and it's only April 5th, 6th. I mean, it's just been the craziest year of my life. But that's also... Season 8 is all in, not just up to April, but season 8 reaches back. And so about this time last year, I think, is when we started season 8, but we'll get there. I want to talk about the angel number 8, according to Sacred Scribes. I'm going to read this. Guys, if you've never been to the blog, Royal Road, Joanne Sacred Scribes. Her name is spelled Joanne, and Sacred Scribes, Scribes. She has everything you ever needed to know about anything psychic-y, I think, really. And it's, I don't know, I've learned the most I've learned except from people, from this blog. And this is just a part of it, a very small part of it. It has angel numbers going up to like, you just have to see it. I'll put a link to it. I think I have before. So, angel number 8, according to Sacred Scribes. She writes, number 8 resonates with the influences and vibrations of authority and personal power, self-confidence, executive ability, confidence, inner strength, professionalism, and the professional. Management, material freedom, success, good judgment, money, finances, riches, manifesting wealth, abundance and prosperity, provision, investments, discrimination and discernment, giving and receiving, thoroughness, dependability, self-reliance, repose, practicality, consideration, inner wisdom, self-sufficiency, social status, pragmatism, the ego, aggregation, compassion. Strength card. The strength card is usually 8. Not always, though. Sometimes it's 11. Onward we go. Dictatorship. Executive delegation. Reality. It's funny that there's a number associated with reality. I guess that's because of the infinity symbol of it. Maybe. I don't know. truth and integrity. It says compassion again. Oh, I just reread the same line. Dictatorship, multiples, employment, stability, appearance, customs, skills and talents, exchanges, truth, good judgment, and problem solving, organization and organizing, achieving and achievements, decisiveness, control, constant ambition, the authoritarian, challenge, efficiency, trustworthiness, insight, planning and the planner, sociability, works independently, learning through experience, and true justice. And justice can sometimes be the number 8 card. And in that case, I do think of it as like a karma justice when it's the number 8 card. True justice, not man justice, law court, Retreat is another one. Patience, caution, self-discipline, free will, insight, spiritual consciousness, a desire for peace and a love of humanity and world transformation. Leads to 9, which is where you do those things. You just love it. Number 8, I guess. Number 8 is the number of karma, the universal spiritual law of cause and effect. Angel number 8 brings us an uplifting message of encouragement from your angels, telling of achievement, success, striving forward, progress, and attainment. It is a message to stay optimistic and listen to your intuition and inner guidance as you hold positive expectations and thoughts of positive abundance in all its forms. Set solid foundations for yourself and your loved ones, as this will ensure your future prosperity. The universe and your angels will always support you, but it is your responsibility to ensure that you put in the appropriate work and effort when and where necessary. You are encouraged to live up to your full potential. Angel number 8 brings a message from the angels that financial abundance is on its way to you as you have worked diligently and intelligently towards achieving your goals and aspirations, and your just rewards will be yours. Be grateful for the blessings in your life and for those yet to come. Angel number 8 tells you to step into your personal power and have faith and trust in your own abilities, skills, and talents, and to use them to their highest potential. Interesting. So I'm going to tell you all about season 8, if you haven't been here for the whole thing and didn't listen to it at all. And I'm sure not every person who listens to this podcast in particular will have been listening to every single podcast in season 8. Maybe we do a lot of podcasts, guys. I know we do. Or I do. Now. And we'll talk about that too. Now, let me open up my little Spotify for creators now. Spotify for Creators is my hosting app. My host. And just look in there to start going over season 8, because I want to go through the episodes. So the first one we have is, we have that one. Oh my goodness. Where are we starting? I should have had this pulled up. Listeners, oh my gosh. I'm just going back, and I'm like, wow, I forgot all this stuff. It's been an intense, crazy season, my friends. And I'm going to relate to this personally, because season 8 is about your leadership, not your leadership exactly, but me personally, 8 is me taking control of my life. And I had to do a lot of that in this season. It's not easy for me with my little Chiron and Aries. Listeners, if you don't know what that means, if your Chiron is in Aries, it's the wounded healer in astrology. Chiron is I think it's a space in space. I don't think it's a planet or it's an asteroid. That's right. Chiron's an asteroid. And if you look at an astrology chart, it's the K symbol, kind of like a key with the K kind of look. And whatever sign or house that is in, especially the sign, I think is what matters, is where you have they call it where you have a deep wound. And so when it's in Aries, in the 10th house, like mine, Aries is the self, the identity of the self, kind of Aries archetype. And so they call it the wounded healer because that's the main thing you're supposed to heal for yourself in this lifetime, according to astrology. So I'm supposed to get in the sense of who I am, and self-love, of course, with Aries, with 1, and authority with 1 for myself. That's the number of authority in numerology, and in angel numbers, it's your manifestations. It's keeping your thoughts positive. So because whenever you think things, they come to be. The way you think is what angel number 11 is about. Angel number 111 is about manifesting what you're creating in your life with your thoughts and your perceptions and how you want to see the world and how you do kind of put together. Anyway, that's a little off topic. I went all the way back to way back to a Jennifer Love episode. Hold on, let me go back. Okay, I don't think she's been on this season. She's been pretty busy with her life, I think. Let's see. Going back. She's Claire. Oh, Alejandra. We haven't had her in this podcast series. Going. I'm getting there, guys. Maybe I should pause it. Oh, wait. We're getting there, guys. Welcome to Season 8, Episode 2! Okay, that wasn't the first one. The first one was Nothing Gets Better Than This with Rachel. And then that was fun. I don't think she knew where she was because she said, I think we're on the wrong podcast. I think she said something like, I think this is the podcast that I was supposed to be on next weekend. And it was really weird because it was. And that morning it was rescheduled by itself. I thought she did it. I thought they did it. Her end did it. And I was like, okay, I guess we're doing it today. Or that it was like, maybe it's tomorrow or something like that. It's real weird. And that happens a lot on psychic podcasting. Other people who do the psychic podcasting say that kind of stuff happens on their calendar too. And so yeah, that was interesting. It was a good podcast. And then we had to see Welcome to Season 8, Episode 2. And it says I talked about we forgot to say Welcome to Season 8. So I guess Misty and I welcome you to Season 8. So I just talk about the history of the podcast and how amazing it's all been and tell the story of St. Florian. So I just talked about, introducing the season. And St. Florian is the spirit guide of my lifetime. I mean, they all are, I guess, but he's the one. If you didn't listen to that one, he is the saint that was the one who influenced me to even pursue my spiritual side. And when I was younger, I mean. And then we had Somatic Movement, Jen's interview. And I really love Jen. I want her to come back. I want everyone to come back who was here. And then we have Sense Your Identity with Ryan A. And he was awesome. And it was really interesting. After the show, he says, did I say anything you haven't heard before? And I was taken aback. I'd never heard that before. And I didn't know what to say. I told him that his attitude was different than most people because he seemed very comfortable. And he gave me a good like kind of reading. I can't really remember, but we talked afterwards, and it was really good reading. I liked him a lot. And then we have I have it called Energy Healing Free Sample, Laura Lee's interview. She did an energy healing on me in that podcast, and it was just wonderful. And then we have Psychic Misconceptions with Julia. I love my Julia. I love Julia. We're going to start our band Side Chicks, or what was the other one we had? Sacred Groove. I don't know what we're going to do. Someday, Julia, we will do it. It'll be our band. And then I did a podcast called Hot and Cold, where I talked about a game I used to play when I was in my 20s to enhance my psychic side. And then we have this Work Together podcast with Misty and me. We did this on Facebook Live. It was, we talked about how we wished, it was around the election time. We were wishing everybody would just get along. A lot of people were not, if you remember, and they still aren't. It's getting worse sometimes, where you are, who you talk to. It seems like it is. I don't have a TV. I don't have television. I don't watch the news. I do read the news. I choose my media outlets and spread them out and just kind of get whatever I can and kind of put it in my own head and try to figure it out. What's the real truth here? And then this was my favorite podcast of the season. Asking Nashville, do you think we're all psychic? I know the audio was terrible, guys, but that's the best I could do at the time. And I will try my best to clean that up someday, maybe. But we went around, Missy and I and Eric and our friend Pop Tart went around Nashville and asked random people, do you think we're all psychic? And I think we had five people, random people we talked to, and Pop Tart, of course. We didn't really know him. He was my roommate at the time, Jesse's friend, who was visiting. And we made him be our guinea pig. We were out on the rooftop. He went first. It was really fun. And I have a Blip 196, probably some podcast nerds. Looks like that's all that was. I don't know what I talked about. I guess it's not important because it was a blip. Oh gosh, I just saw one that I have to keep. The app keeps flipping back on me. I have to keep scrolling down to get back to where I were. So then we were with Carol Starr's astrology series, and this was about the current astrology with Carol Starr. And y'all, I love Miss Carol. I love Miss Carol Starr like I love my mom. I love Miss Girl Star. I hope you heard that. And I would love to say the next one, if it would quit blipping around on me, is blip, 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 Angel and Spirit Guide Expectations, Part 1. With Donna. So Donna and Misty and I talked about how we, how people can have expectations of what our guides and angels might offer us if we ask for help, but it's not always going to look like that at all. Hardly ever does. Hardly ever does. And then we have next, Never Too Late to Be Grateful with Marissa, Trent, and Ashton. And that was just wonderful. Marissa's been on and off. And she was the last podcast of the season. And she is lovely. And that was a lovely podcast. That was a lot of fun. Her son Ashton gave us some really, really sweet answers. And he's brilliant. He's just a brilliant, brilliant man. And the next one after that was Peaceful Waters with Emily. And Emily told us, Misty had gotten in touch with Emily. And I knew Emily years ago. Gosh, it was so, I hadn't seen her in forever. And I'd heard the horrible things that had happened to her. And she did talk about that. And she wrote a book about it. And she talked about that. She talked about her spiritual side a lot. And Emily was one of the few people I knew in Alabama that I could talk about the spirituality with when I was in my 30s and stuff. Because she was into it too. It was really cool to see her and talk to her on the podcast for me personally. And thank you, Misty, for bringing her. And then we have Psychic in the South with Alejandra. And we had planned on having a few people with that one, but we were in our little do-rags, according to Zoom, what do-rags look like. And we just talked about the biases and stuff like that, some of the funny stuff. And then I had an interview with my old roommate, Jesse, called The Gush. And then I had a chat with Al3. And I love Barbara With. And she does all the chat with Al's. This was our third one, and I do believe we did this one live on Facebook. Let me see. Not that one. I don't know. It might have been that one. I don't know everything, everybody. I try to be prepared, and then I can't remember. Yeah, I know you know. Thank you. And then we have Miriam's Halloween Pick a Card podcast. And her pick a cards are rad. You got to watch those. And then we got Gifts, Asha's interview. And that was a beautiful one for me because Asha is just she's a friend, but she was in my tarot class and she used to get readings once in a while. But she was really, really intuitive. I was like, why aren't you learning this stuff? And she's like, okay. And she did. And she's wonderful. If I need something, I can reach out to Asha and she will pick up the phone, and she'll always help me out. And I love you, Asha. And then we have Nichelle. And I love Nichelle. I love everybody who came on this podcast. And thank you guys again in the middle of everything. Nichelle does current astrology in this podcast on November 5th in 2024. And Nichelle does such great podcasts. I love any time I get to do a podcast with Nichelle. And I think we did a couple in this season. I'm not sure. And then I have, then I put in numerology lesson 2. And that was someone from Everclear, our sponsor. Someone up there really liked the numerology podcast. So I did another one. And they like that one too. And now I have to kind of come up with the next one to do. I haven't decided yet. I want to, though, for you. And then I have How to Make a Magic Potion. And I had a lot of fun making that. I did it in the old house I lived in. And I went around and showed you how to make a magic potion. Or an oil, a magic oil. And I can't, I tried to demonstrate putting the mojo in it. But, put the herbs and the oils and all that stuff together. And then we have Recipe to Help Enjoy the Holiday Season with Miriam. And she told us about how she tries to get out of that muck headset for Christmas. And that was right around Christmas. Actually, it was November 22nd. Well, it was all the holiday, Thanksgiving and everything. And then we did Angel and Spirit Guide Expectations Part 2 with Donna. And Donna and I talked about summing up that first Angel and Spirit Guide Expectations podcast. In this one, you don't have to listen to both of them together. They're perfectly fine standalones. But in this one, it looks like, if I remember correctly, it's kind of different. We just have to give more examples in the ways angels show up, and guides, and how they can surprise us, and how they and or better. That's the thing Donna has taught me. You always say, for my highest and greatest good, and better, or better, and or better. And then then we had I skipped around because there's Marissa, Trent, and Ashton. I must have skipped around by accident. But here is a session with Angelina, and I just love Angelina and her sessions. If you need a healing session, she doesn't really cater it individually, but if you relate to me at all as the way I talk or feel, or I'm all hijacked up and a lot of the time, I don't know, Angelina, she just heals. She just is healing. She just is. And then I have another blip. Did it say in here what I talked about in this blip 676? A catch up and what up? For the mysteries of the podcast, you must listen to all the blips and figure out the number system that I have, attributed to them. And then it makes sense in hindsight with Tamika. And she's just rad. I want you to come back, Tamika. She works at Everclear, I do believe, if I remember correctly. And I think I remember correctly. And then we have Michelle back again with Mars Retrograde. And she talked about that, and that was horrible. It's not a podcast, the Mars Retrograde. Michelle was wonderful, as always. And then I have Palmistry Lesson 2, which was for the Rustic Psychic School app when I was doing that, and it didn't work out. But I decided to just make it a podcast. Because the Palmistry Lesson 1 is the most listened to and downloaded podcast according to whatever kind of statistics I can find. You just don't know. And then I have Real Life Magical School with Biwu. And Biwu, I love you. And she came on to talk about going to this magic school, kind of basically, in England. And it's just rad. If you don't want to go to it or listen to the podcast, you can go to the video and just see the pictures of it. And And then after that, I did Psychic Podcasters Meet, Jamie and Maggie's interview. And they do the podcast. I'm going to drink something right now. Psychic Evolution Podcast. Now I'm going to take a sip of my orange juice. Donna guest co-hosted in that one. And they're just great. Jamie and Maggie are rad. You guys got to check out their podcast if you have not. The next thing we have is Happy Winter Solstice from Lenore. It's a very short little 5-minute podcast I did playing with my character animator on my new computer. And then we have A Psychic Medium Tells How, Elizabeth's interview on December 30th. And that was a really cool one. I think everybody should check that one out. The cover, the cover looked better big. But it's she really has a good way of explaining everything. And she shut me up. She kept me quiet. And then I have a page from a diary of a psychic medium, Amber's interview. And she is the host of Diary of a Psychic Medium. And I just loved her. That generation is going to bring us up, guys. Tell you what. And then I did How to Be Successful in a Spiritual Profession. And in that, I talked about all the ways I tried to do things in different businesses in my life. And what do you consider success? And then how you can go about maybe getting that. And then I have a more magical Misty. And I think we talked about, we brought Misty's story up to date, I think. Next, we have a chat with Al 4 with Barbara, of course. This is the one we did live on Facebook on January 12th. Of 2025, and I posted it on January 15th of 2025. I love you, Barbara. You're gonna be back soon, right? We were supposed to do a podcast with her the other day, guys. And I gotta talk about being sick. So, oh my gosh, the storms in Nashville have been terrible. We've had tornado warnings in the city and but the pressure's over 30 and I'm just in pain all day long. Like, holy crap. It hurts. It just hurts all over and everything. But it's starting to get better. It's 9:49 in the morning right now. I've been up since about 5:30 or 6, and I think I'm okay. I don't hurt too badly. It's starting to get better. I hope it stays getting better. It's still cloudy, but the weather's been awful. And so we didn't get to do that podcast because I was so messed up. And then we have the Sound Current. Now, this one was really big for me. This podcast, Catherine's interview, the Sound Current. In this one, she talks to me and she talks about the sound current, which if you didn't get to listen to this podcast, it's the music that's always there. If you hear it, or if you've ever heard it, you just kind of hear it. It's just always there. and you're writing it with it. And she told me that has a name, and I never knew that had a name. I was like, whoa, what? What? And it kind of gave me the oomph I needed to start the sounds healing series, which I did do in this season. So then we have Dear Diary, January 22nd, 2025. And I talk about all the things that are changing in my life at that time. And that was January 22nd. I think that was my old friend Lisa's birthday, or my old friend Charlotte's birthday in high school. I always get their birthdays mixed up. They had one was the 21st and one was the 22nd, I think. It's hard to remember anything these days from that far back. And then we had AI for the Third Eye with Valentino, and it's really Giovanni. I think I'm going to go in there and change it right now. Well, it's on the cover of Valentino, so I'll leave it that way for now. But it's Giovanni coming back, Valentino coming back, and he and I talk about AI. We both like AI, and my opinion is that there are babies, and you know that if you listen. Yeah, so he's great. I love Giovanni. We've gotten to be very good friends over the last podcast season. He's like, I consider him a very good friend, and he has sent me some St. John's wort I bought from him, and I cannot wait for it to get here. It might be here tomorrow, I'm not sure. So then we have How to Feel Your Energy Fields, and this was the most listened to podcast of the season. And in this podcast, Misty and I talk, so I think it's just audio, and Misty and I talk about different ways to feel your energy field and recognize it, and you talk about where you put your attention span and concentrate on it. And that's where your energy is, kind of stuff like that. And that's the last podcast I did with Misty. So then after that, we have Walking the Spiritual Talk. I moved at that time, and I'm in this apartment now where I moved to from that crazy house. Someday I'll tell you guys more about that, but that was a crazy time. And I was talking about how I had basically a PTSD episode, and I did do a podcast called Tower Days and took it down 3 days later. It was a bonus episode, and I think you can still find the audio, but the video's gone, and I don't have it in my feed anymore, but I did see it somewhere. I don't know if it plays, but I just was really in a triggered as all get out from PTSD episode with a doctor who triggered it, and it wasn't the doctor's fault. It was just PTSD. And I just went for days in this trigger and living this way, and I didn't even know it. It was like, wow, PTSD is a real son of a bitch, my friends. But I know I'm going to work through this, and I'm still working through it. And that's kind of what I talk about in Walking the Spiritual Talk. And I talk about a lot more. And then this next podcast we have after that is Stream of Source Consciousness, David's interview, and Miriam stood and co-hosted for that. And David does he does a podcast, and his podcast is, he has a really great way of putting things down to earth, like understandable kind of, he's a really good way of putting things. And his, David Strickle, and his podcast is The Stream of David. Then I have this podcast called The Void, and I did this one, I think it's just audio, and I talk about how I read in ChatGPT about the void in spiritual terms, and it's basically when I was feeling like nothing mattered, but that I wasn't depressed or anything. It was just this like limbo kind of, like liminal space kind of thing. And then after that, I have Intro to Mudras with Donna. And Donna and I had so much fun doing that. Finally got the Mudras podcast down. And I think that's the first one I started putting these on YouTube because I can upload them and it doesn't take 5 hours here. So I've been uploading from then onto YouTube my videos and my audio podcast, which is what I'm doing with this one. I'll put a little picture up and have the audio up if you want to listen to it on YouTube. Well, I'm going to do that from now on. And the one after Miss Donna and I did Intro to Mudras was Soul Mind with Cheryl. And Cheryl is awesome. Cheryl is like my Taurus girlfriend. I don't know. she's like, I just love her hair too. And she came back, and we talk about all kinds of things. We just flow and we talk. I love talking. Cheryl, come back. All y'all come back. Then the next one I have is Psychic Medium Rachel L's interview. And Rachel, she talked about how that the reason I named it that is because she kept saying all through the podcast, she was like, I just didn't believe it. And I love her. She's great. And then we have this is where I started my sound healing series, episode 1. And that's where I started it. That's very exciting to me. And that was on March 11th of 2025. And then we did Blood Moon. So Nichelle and I did 3. So we did Blood Moon with Nichelle. And we talked about the effects of the blood moon. I thought we did a Venus retrograde. I talked about that. Okay. Next one up was Giovanni's Herbalism series. We started a series with Giovanni, and that was on March 15th. So I guess we got one coming up pretty soon, Giovanni. Dude, hit me up. And then there's Venus retrograde. And I think this was just me. Yeah, I had talked about Venus retrograde. And it says it's a video. I don't remember doing this one. It's weird. That's kind of like in my little bubble when I do some of these, when I do by myself, if I have no anchor in there. Anyway, then the next one I do have is the Sound Healing series, episode 2. And I just love the Sound Healing series so far. And I've been playing my sound bowls all the time, guys. I feel like I'm getting better. I might do a sound bath today after I publish this. I've been doing live ones on TikTok under the handle SyReader Lisa 6. And I'll put that in the description of the podcast. It's PSYREADER 6. Oh, Lisa. Okay, let me try this again. At PSYREADERLISA 6. I was trying to be like the robotic woman. Oh, you should see my audio waves. They look like the robotic woman's audio waves. Yeah, when you call the line and they repeat your phone number back to you or something. I'm just yeah. So anyway, the next one, I really love this. We're All Fireflies with Julie W. and Julie Wiggle. I think Wignall. I'm sorry, with Julie Wignall, and she wrote this book called something about. I think it was. Let me see what she calls the book. Extraordinary Life of Fireflies or something. Yeah, I think that's what it was. Lives of. And she talks about how how like a metaphor for all of us using our gifts is like fireflies lighting up. And one, imagine all of us lighting up. I love Julie's, but I love her interview. I love all of these, so I love them. This one was really fun. Lisa and the Brainwaves Jam. Lisa C's interview. So we share names, Lisa. We've had a Dr. Lisa, but we haven't had a Lisa. I don't think. If we have, I forgot. But we talk about brainwaves a lot in this one. It's not the only thing we talk about, but we talk about a lot of stuff with brainwaves. And then I had Patrick Keller on, and that was a really big honor for me to have him on there. And he is from the Big Seance podcast. And thank you, Patrick. Come back. And then I have the Orchid with Rocio. She hears this, she'll laugh. And Angel, and they talked about their book, The Orchid. And guys, I haven't opened it yet. Still love it the way it is. And then the last episode is Other Worlds with Marissa, episode 1. She's starting a podcast series called Other Worlds with me. And she's going to talk about her astral projection and lucid dreaming experiences. No holds barred, guys. And she's like one of the best friends right now I've had in a long time. She's been there for me. Thank you, Marissa. And now here we are, season 8 ender. So y'all want to know what happened with Misty. She just didn't have any time. You heard me go through that list. She didn't really have time to do many podcasts anymore. And I love you, Misty. And whatever happens from here on out, you're going to be fine. We're going to be fine. But we just didn't have the same kind of goals anymore. And I think moving away kind of damaged the way we ran the podcast because we had time in person to do stuff. And I don't think she really could relate to my PTSD issues, or not relate. I know she can. I don't think she wanted to. It's I think it reminded her of things that were hard for her, and she didn't want to really go there with that, is my opinion. So I haven't heard from her in a very long time. But she has been integral to this podcast, like I've said before. And she is always going to stay as the co-host in the listing. And as far as I'm concerned, she is the co-host of this podcast. And I will just continue to do them by myself with stand-in co-hosts. So, and another wonderful thing happened just a couple days ago. I mean, I've had a rough time. I don't want to go into my personal stuff because that would take the rest of the year. Oh, I have to take a year to tell about all last year, season 8. But I did take control of my life. I did in a lot of ways. I feel very alone and very lonely sometimes. And I'm owning up to what I do, and I do the things I do that people go crazy about, like family, friends, stuff like that. But I'm understanding my discernment, which Courtney, she's an old podcast returning guest from several seasons ago. she had said, she gave me a reading one time, an Akashic Records reading. She said, you're learning discernment right now. And I do feel like that's exactly what I'm doing, is learning discernment still, but I feel like I'm almost at the end of this lesson. However, my numerology says I am in a 5 cycle until 2029, and 5 cycle in numerology is constant changes, guys. And I am in a 5 maturity. So that means from right around now until the rest of my life. And probably starting around I want to say that said it started, my 5 maturity starts between 35 and 40 in the app I use. But I feel like it started at 45. And that's when everything just changes the rest of your life. It's dynamic. It's because I took control of my life with, the spirit of season 8. And I did. And, and you think about the star card in the tarot is 17. 1 plus 7 is 8. It's about guiding myself to my own inner home. That's what I'm trying to do right now. And I will. Not just trying. I'm going to get there. Like Yoda said, there is no try. You do or do not do. Because every time you do something, you've done it. Right? Anyway, listeners, I love you guys so much. And thank you for always listening to my podcast and our podcast. And I want to tell you that it is a very big honor to interview any of you. Anyone who has been a guest has taught me everything I know. Every episode. And listeners, just knowing that anyone listens is my pride and joy. And in my heart and soul. Thank you so much. I love you all very much. And I'll see you tomorrow because we have a podcast tomorrow. And love you. Goodbye. Peace out.